Photoshop CS5 has a new feature called on-image editing, which I think you're really going to like, and it also ties in directly to our discussion about adjustment layers and working with the adjustments panel. Now, on-image editing is going to work with either curves, hue saturation, or there's also another option here called black and white, which allows us to create black and white images. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get started by showing you the on-image editing feature using curves. So inside the adjustments panel, I'm going to go ahead and click on the curves icon in the top row of the adjustments panel, pop in there, and of course you already know that we get a miniature version of whatever the color correction command is that we have. So this is our mini curves here, if you will. And of course I get the adjustment layer there over inside the layers palette. Of course, as you already know, I can start to drag around my settings inside the adjustments panel. Of course, here inside curves, I can add some plot points onto my luminance curve and so on. But you know, as a quick aside, something that I forgot to mention in the previous exercise is what if you want to reset everything? You know, all the way along, I've been showing you that you can either hold down Option or Alt on the Windows side and reset your dialog boxes, right? Well, how do I go about resetting my adjustment? Well, there's a little reset button way down at the bottom here. So simply click on that and that'll take you back to where you started. Doesn't really have anything to do with on-image editing, but I wanted to mention that for you. Okay, back to this issue of on-image editing. Here's what I'm going to do. From the adjustments panel menu in the top right corner of the panel, go ahead and choose Auto Select Targeted Adjustment Tool. Boy, that's a mouthful. So Auto Select Targeted Adjustment Tool. Go ahead and grab that guy. And then all I'm going to do now is bring my cursor over top of my image, and I think to myself, well, you know, this foreground, I want to make it a little bit lighter. So all I'm going to do is click and drag up inside my image, and what happens there is my image actually starts to get lighter because Photoshop plotted a point on my luminance curve for me at that luminance level. So that's what this on-image editing is really all about. And then I think to myself, well, all right, the leaves, the overgrowth there should be a little darker, so I'm going to click and drag down on that area inside my image. But then this area here where the sunbeams are kind of cutting through, maybe that should be a little bit lighter, so I'll drag up there. And then perhaps over here into the tree trunks, maybe that should be a little bit darker, so I'm going to drag down. This is what on-image editing is all about. And it's fantastic here inside Photoshop CS5. It's very, very cool stuff. So once again, let me reset my adjustments panel here. I'll show you this one more time. Let's go back to where we started. I went up to the panel menu up in the top corner there, and I selected Auto Select Targeted Adjustment Tool. You're telling me they couldn't come up with something shorter than that? And then I'll simply drag inside my image to make my adjustments. So I'll drag down in the foreground to make the entire image darker, but then perhaps in certain areas I'll drag up, or really I should have dragged up in the foreground. That's what I did previously anyway. And then I'll drag down inside the branches there, maybe drag it back up just a little bit. So again, we are correcting color directly on the photo, which is great. And hopefully you're not making a mess out of your image like I was there just a second ago. So I just reset one more time and I'll come back in here and see if I can get this looking half decent, maybe something like that. To me, that looks pretty darn cool. So you can fiddle around inside the adjustments panel if you want, or you can do everything directly on your photo, which is fantastic. Now, of course, don't forget this on-image editing is only going to work with curves here, your hue saturation, or that convert to black and white command.